price increases as Nigeria's inflation rises to 22.79%. Federal government seeks 360 billion naira in new bond auction. Oil prices inch up as U.S. crude supplies seen tightening. Plus Hong Kong stocks tumble 2%, dragged by property and tech. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar, your guide. Now let's bring you up to speed with business development. The National Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's annual inflation rate rose to 22.79% in June from 22.41% in the previous month. The Statistics Office said the June inflation rate showed an increase of 0.38% points when compared to May 2023 headline inflation rate. Meanwhile, economists say fiscal and monetary policies are needed to curb the persistent trend.
So far as there are supply bottlenecks, and also there are certain policies which are not yet adjusted. One fundamental issue about inflation is that at any point in time, when prices continue to persist, and at the same time people continue to bear the consequences of what their income can take home, there is going to be much pressure in the market.
Now, the latest inflation figure is the first release since President Bola Tinubu assumed office on May 29. And to speak on the factors that must have brought about the continuous increase is a senior economist with SPM Professionals, Paul Alaje. Welcome to Business Express.
Yeah, thank you so very much for having me.
Well, it's another inflation figure of 22.79% in June 2023, coming a few days after President Tinubu declared a state of emergency on food security. So, what do you make of the latest inflation figure?
Well, first is that the figure is not surprising at all. We're expecting inflation to increase at an increasing rate. This is because government had made two policies together. First, we have seen that subsidy had been removed, so we expect that that will affect transportation. When you look at inflation numbers, you see that transport sector increased by over 1%, and more importantly, you see food also increased by over 10%. So that year on year, according to the report shared by the National Bureau of Statistics. That said, we also saw that government had unified exchange rate. Technically speaking, Naira has been devalued both at official window, and that has implication on parallel market rate. Many may wonder that we did not see inflation fall to the point at which many organizations has projected, which include local and foreign organizations, at about 24 to 25%. That's explainable, even though I think that Bureau of Statistics should rejig its methodology. I think it should also reconsider commodity that it has in basket of commodity. But that said, I hope that those in the agency will do the needful. But it is not all prices that we have implication that increases we caught up with as soon as subsidy was removed. I believe that you are going to see this inflation still increasing even at slow or marginal rate from now till sometimes end of the year. So inflation may still get up to 25%, but it may still be increasing gradually. Recall that when government closed the border, we saw inflation also increase gradually up to the point it got to about 18 or 19%, even though it started at about 12, 13%. So yes, it is going to increase over time, and it may be increasing. Now it's increasing at a much slower rate. In fact, what shocked many is that core inflation receded, which of course was unthinkable. But that said, one thing is certain: food inflation grew up to about 25% plus, and core inflation remained 20% plus. The center of inflation still remain at urban center, and figure shows that nearly 60% of Nigeria are now living in urban center. This may have implication on people that we call urban poor, because many people wants to come and see roads in the urban center. They want to come and also access electricity at urban center and also have access to urban life. But the question is, do we have jobs to sustain them? Do we have methods to also keep them engaged as they come to the urban center?
Okay, we're seeing 6 consecutive increase in inflation this year, and as when you look at the world over, most countries are also experiencing the same thing: high cost of living and things like that. Are we likely to see inflation decelerate, and what policies do we actually need to address this? Because if you look at it, the central bank over some time now has been tightening the monetary policy rates to address this issue, but it seems like it's not working. So what do we need to do to make it work?
Well, I've said it time and again, central bank policy is not sufficient to combat inflation, because when you look at the cost of inflation, it's not monetary in nature. I understand whether it's monetary or not. The central bank and monetary policy committee have a role to play, but at this time and the kind of inflation we have, we need beyond monetary control, evident in CRR, evident in cash reserve requirements, evident in liquidity ratio, as well as monetary policy rates. This is the time we need to find a more holistic convergence between fiscal and monetary authority. And I must also mention, including trade authority. Now, the highest part of inflation is food inflation. What must we do to boost food supply? And the answer is simple. One thing we need to do is to ensure that we have increase in supply. And I have also advocated supply side strategy. How do we deliberately start farm expansion? And when I say farm expansion, agro expansion, what I mean by this is government should focus on a plantation. And we may say that this is not possible. It is possible. We have over 250,000 corpus. And what we need to start with, maybe 20,000 or 30,000 per farm, and a lot of Nigerian youth out there who are really not productively engaged. It could come in form of volunteer. I recall that government in the past administration have tried to support the youth with some amount of money, but what are they doing in exchange? And let me also say this conversation will go beyond what federal government alone would do or state government. We would need that agreement between federal, state, and local government to emerge land, to make available land that young people will farm. And the kind of farming we are talking about here will not just be farming in small scale. No, it's going to be farming that will be done in a large scale with the provision of security. It's not that we don't have farmers in Nigeria, but what has happened to them because of insecurity we have seen in key production zones of Benue, of Plateau, and more importantly, northeast and northwest, because of insecurity. So many of these farmers are now in IDP camps. So, okay, but new administration has changed security chiefs, and I believe that these security chiefs will quickly look into it to protect life and property, so that our food supply side will expand, and we're going to start seeing supply forcing down inflation. Because of course, when supply is excess, what you expect in economics is price to come down, provided demand remains the same.
I don't know whether you've observed recently that the president has just declared a state of emergency on full security. And part of most of what you've said is actually included in that strategic policy target. So I don't know whether you are aware of this particular policy.
Absolutely, I'm aware of the policy.
What do you make of it, and how will this help us going forward?
Well, I absolutely, I saw it, and I noticed government have started by making some billions of naira available for farms because of devastation in some areas. That was available in the document, and even the presentation made by the spokesperson of Mr. President. But what we need to do is the organization. Can we allow, which is what is not clearly written in the document and what is not yet done, can we say for different local government that have different unique produce? All of us come from one local government or the other, and those in Abuja, they came from one area council or the other. Out of over 700 local government, can we take star 500 local government and look for produce that are unique? They are better produced than any other area. For instance, in Kogi State, we can take 2-3 local government to produce cashew nuts, which is not even just a food crop, but also a cash crop to the nation. This is how we can significantly expand our export. We can also look at produce that are currently being processed in Nigeria. We talk about rice. Why is the price of rice increasing in the market? Because the price those who are farming are selling to those who are middling is high. We certainly has issues with the volume of paddy rice, which is the seed, paddy rice that is available on our farms and in our marketplace. And I strongly believe that if we are deliberate about agriculture beyond Nigeria as an agrarian environment, people should just go to farm. We must see efforts, support of government, and I'm not talking of the kind of program that was run recently under CBN, that billions of money were given to few individuals, and right now to pay back became a big issue. No, we want to see the size of land. We want to know the crops you need. No monies will go into anybody's hand. We will give you enough seedling. We are going to appoint consultants to work with you. We will also give you corpers to work with you. But this is the minimum you must plant, and this is the minimum harvest we expect. So we cannot have a storage of some sort at the national level. Already for what we are producing, we have huge concern in Benue, we have huge concern in Nasarawa State by implication. But when we have all of this coming, and we can release from our reserve into the nation, then you will see price will come down. In a matter of months, you are still going to see yam coming out, in their numbers from some of the states that are natural, there are traditional farmers, I beg your pardon. And now, of all of these that are coming, we are going to have excess. During the period, you see the price come down slightly. When you are off season, what happens? The price will go up. The price of egg is not in season. Whether it's raining or dry season, you see chicken giving us more eggs. But what happens to the price? It keeps going up. So we need to be strategic. I understand government have made the document available, but we need to be strategic such that when we have some of these things we are talking about, from agro processing to farming to poultry to animal husbandry, they will all constitute supply side, and it is this supply side we are going to use to induce or to influence the market. And when we come up to the market with huge supply, I tell you that demand remains the same, okay, the price will certainly go down.
Okay, Mr. Alaje, another thing is we have this whole idea of how to actually address this thing. But my question here is, when do we get the quick fix?
Well, over the years, Nigeria have always tried to do quick fixes. And it was even very common with the former spokesperson of President Buhari, I think a minister, that said, we are going to try a number of quick fixes. When you use quick fixes in economics, of course, nothing will be fixed. We need to look for long-lasting solution. Hunger cannot be quickly fixed if people are not directly empowered. I understand government brought a policy of supporting poor people with 8,000 naira and going to about 12 million people. That's okay, but that cannot permanently solve the impact. So yes, for so many people that are already deprived, people that are living below poverty line, even the numbers have since increased beyond 89 million as we speak. The number is about 93 million, not my figures. The World Bank report 27 June 2023 said so. But with all the quick fixes that that's been done in the former administration, how much of solution have we been able to find? My opinion is that this president has come with a different body language, and I want to believe he will see through some of the policies he has presented. But if he deviates into finding quick fixes to solving the problem, I think your guess is as good as mine.
Wow. So we need a very, a kind of a deliberate long-term solution to this problem. Now, looking at the controversies surrounding tax and household electricity tariffs, what solution would you proffer towards addressing these issues?
Well, every increase must stay. There must be stay action. If you are trying to increase any form of tax now, you further deprive, you further force the people down the poverty line. And I think people need to read the report. Report from World Bank shows that any further policy to add to the burden of subsidy removal, as well as essentially unification of Nigeria, may lead to 7.1 million people adding to poverty bracket. And the document is available, is in the public domain. My advice will be that, yes, electricity, the discos, about 11 of them have applied for increase. I would want the current administration to intervene because people's disposable income are getting leaner. It is the same income that we used to pay because people want to live relatively better life or quality of life. If we pay more for some of these things without having more in terms of service, the truth is that it's going to have tremendous negative impact in their lives, tremendous negative impact also on their in their livelihood.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Paul Laje. It's always a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Now, moving forward, Nigerian farmers in partnership with the federal government have launched an initiative tagged Devolution. The initiative is aimed at revolutionizing maize production in Nigeria. Musa reports.
It is a launch of 2023 wet season farming activities for maize farmers. 250,000 hectares are already under cultivation, targeting a minimum of 4 tons per hectare. The President, Maize Association of Nigeria, Muhammad Abubakar and Nur Funtua, said the goal of the initiative will be achieved through good agronomic practices and mechanization.
We firmly believe that by collaborating closely with the government, we can address the pressing issues surrounding access to quality inputs, low-cost finance, mechanization services, stable maize prices, and assured market for maize grain.
Katsina State is taking the lead in the project as it has been the second largest producer of maize in the country. The State Deputy Governor Farouk Jobe said security and agriculture are the priority of the state government.
The shortcut way of improving on food insecurity, wealth creation, and creating employment for our teeming youth.
One of our objectives of man is to see that we have translated government policy to our farmers and to our aim and objective, how it works.
Farming inputs, including chemicals and fertilizer, were distributed to farmers. Nigeria has declared state of emergency on food security, and government is partnering with farmers towards boosting national food production.
Now, there are indications that the federal government may consider the request by power distribution companies for a review of their tariff, as the government spending on electricity subsidy has risen to 2.8 trillion naira. A new report by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission indicates that past hikes in electricity tariffs by discos saved the government from paying additional 1 trillion naira in subsidy to power firms annually. In its July 2023 NAC report entitled Overview of the Nigeria Electricity Supply Industry, which provides an update on the country's tariff review journey, the Commission stated that between January 2020 and January 2023, tariff increased from 55% of cost recovery to 94%. It added that without the tariff reviews, that commence in 2019, subsidies payable by the government will have grown to about 1 trillion naira per annum by 2023. Oil prices edged higher in early trade on Tuesday after sinking in the previous session on weaker than expected Chinese economic growth as investors eye a possible tightening of U.S. crude supplies. Brent crude gained 11 cents to $78.61 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 15 cents to $74.30 a barrel. Both contracts fell more than 1.5% on Monday. Investors awaited industry data later on Tuesday that was expected to show U.S. crude oil stockpiles and product inventories likely fell last week. Let's now see how commodities are trading around the world. Now let's head to capital market. It was a positive close on Monday as investors gained through 103.4 billion naira. The all-share index advanced 0.60% to close at 62,943.35 basis points. 710 million securities worth 13.82 billion naira exchange hands in 8,979 deals, while market capitalization increased to 34.27 trillion naira. Sterling Bank, Transcorp, and Unity Bank were the top performers. Next is global markets update.
Asia-Pacific markets were mixed as Hong Kong stocks led losses in the region, tumbling by 2%, dragged by real estate and technology stocks. Mainland Chinese markets were also in negative territory, with the Shanghai Composite down 0.37%, while the Nikkei 225 climbed 0.32%. European stock markets were mixed at Tuesday's open as investors focused on earnings. The DAX declined 0.16%, the FTSE rose 0.11%, and the French CAC gained 0.02%. U.S. stock futures were little changed in overnight trading as Wall Street looked ahead to a busy earnings day. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 0.01%, while S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures both slipped 0.2%. African markets are open, but in mixed territory.
Thank you, Neka. Let's now see how the Naira is exchanging for the currencies. Well, that's it. This is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube. Business Express returns Wednesday at 3 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your day.